Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the Mind Massager.
Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true. Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light, the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view. Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true. Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light, the gold, the new. Intellectual stew.
All right. What's up? What it do? Time for another episode with yours truly, James Kirkland, and the Intellectual Stew. But before we get started tonight, I want to say something to whoever just clicked in. First of all, what's up? Good evening. Thank you for making my acquaintance again tonight. Do me a favor, come in, speak. After you speak, go ahead and share the thread, and we're going to get right into it. What's up, Viola? We're going to get right into it tonight, because tonight I'm talking to two audiences on this show tonight. I'm talking to two audiences, and both of you, hear me when I say this, both of you belong in the room. All right, so let's get that understood. First of all, the first audience that I'm referring to tonight are the women. These are women who have been through breakups, separations, and divorces. The women, I'm speaking to some women who might still be in the middle of a breakup. I'm talking to women who walked out, women who got left, women who are still trying to figure out what happened to the man they used to know. You came here tonight looking for language. You came here looking for someone to name the thing you have not been able to name. And tonight, I'm going to try to do that for you. Now, that's the first audience, the women who've been through the breakup. But the second audience that I'm going to speak to tonight are men I want to speak to men who perhaps have lost themselves somewhere along the way and have not told anybody. I'm talking to men whose wives have been trying to tell them something for years and they did not have the ears to hear it. Men that are sitting in their cars in their driveway right now, or on a couch with the TV on mute, who clicked in not really knowing why. You're not visitors on the show. You're one of the audiences. Let's get that understood. And guess what? I am one of you. We're going to get to the mirror tonight, and some of you are going to catch yourselves in the reflection before the show is over. That's where we're going. So here is where I want you to hold on for the next hour or so, because some of you are sitting next to a man right now. Some of you are that man, and either way, what I want you to leave here saying is, hey, self. All right, because tonight we're talking about the mirrors in your own house. The one you walked past this morning without looking. The one that has been furniture in your home for so long you forgot that it had a job. And my question is, what happens to a man and to the woman who loves them when the mirror disappears? So tonight our subject is going to be, hey, self. When the mirror becomes furniture. When the mirror becomes furniture. Now, this is going to get good tonight, and I'm hoping that y'all will come on in the room so we can have a good discussion about this whole concept of the mirror only becoming furniture. Now, when you come in, do me a favor. Like I said, speak. Let me know where you're listening from. And if this touches you, the phone number is there, and I'll stop different places along the way tonight to offer opportunities for you all to share your thoughts. I want to answer your questions. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to get it, but that's what I want to do. Okay. So let me talk to these women again. Some of the women that I want to refer to tonight, because the women that I'm referring to you, let me explain something to you. Most of the men in your life stopped looking at themselves a long time ago and don't even know it. And the reason why is because we get so caught up in the hustle and the bustle of life, in the routine and in the goal and in function, that at a certain point, the mirror doesn't serve the same function for him, sis, that it might serve for you. When you look in the mirror, you're trying to straighten up the hair. You're trying to fix the makeup to cover up the flaw. You're trying to make sure, enhance what is already positive. But for him, that's not as important. You know, it's not as important how he looks as it is important as how he's seen. I hope that makes sense. So when he continues to pass by the mirror, doing whatever he's doing, sis, a lot of times what you call avoidance for him is irrelevance. And when avoidance and irrelevance show up at the same time, and they have this collision, little do you know, in a moment that becomes confusion, because you think he's avoiding, but in all actuality, it wasn't relevant to him. And so then the accusations start. But we're not here to point the finger tonight. So it's not avoidance. The difference is that some brothers, some brothers just don't need the mirror to function. Some men can tie their ties without looking in the mirror. Some can brush their teeth while scanning the closet, not looking in the mirror. Depending on their hair, their wave pattern, they can brush their hair without looking in the mirror. So what the mirror ends up becoming for that man is, if you're being honest, the mirror becomes the furniture they walk past, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades, and never really pay attention to the reflection in the mirror. And the slow casualty, the version of him that used to check on him, the version that used to check on himself, disappears and nobody notices, including him. Let's just have a conversation tonight. And understand the marriage doesn't kill the mirror. He killed the mirror. The marriage just happened to be the room he was living in when he killed it. Because here it is. You don't avoid the mirror because you can't bear what you would see. You avoid the mirror because you don't need it. And by the time you need the mirror, it's been 10, 15, 20 years. And that's where we're going tonight, because the mirror for some people is furniture. And what happens to a man who stops looking at himself long before the marriage ends? And let me say this, sis, because the reason I can talk about that man is because for 15, maybe 20 years, I lived in a four-bedroom house with my whole family. Our bathroom had his and her sinks. You know, her sink was a lot bigger than mine, but our bathrooms had his and her sinks. My little section was small, and I had my own mirror on this side. She had the double vanity on this side with the long mirror and everything else that went with that. But every day, and unbeknownst to me, because it just became a pattern, every day I would literally pass by that mirror. Every day. And when I passed by that mirror, rarely did I take a look at that mirror. Every day, literally, every day, I would pass by that mirror every morning. And I had to walk by it because the way, when you came out of our master bedroom, when you walked out, shower was on the left, garden tub was on the left, and also the restroom, and then with the toilet. And then you had my little area of the sink. Then you had an opening to go into the walk-in closet. Her side was to the left, mine was to the right. And then beyond the opening was her double mirror. Double mirror. So I had to walk past the mirror to go into the closet. But instead of stopping at the mirror, I might have stopped for a minute to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, but then I would brush my teeth while I was in the closet, looking around, scanning to see what suit I was going to wear, see what shirt I was going to wear. And a lot of times when I would wear a suit with shirt and tie, if I was going to work, a lot of times, because I didn't want to be wrinkled when I got to work, I would wear a t-shirt. And so I would just hang my suit jacket and my dress shirt in the back of the car. And when I would get close to work, I would reach in the back. I mean, I probably shouldn't have been doing this while I was driving. I'm telling on myself, but I hope the statute of limitations is over with. But what I would do is I'd take that t-shirt off, put on my shirt. I would tie my tie riding down the road. I would tuck it in as soon as I got out of the car. I'd brush my hair riding down the road. My point is, for years, 10, 15, because I can remember doing this back as far as 2002, 2003, 10, 15 years, I would literally walk by the mirror. And so if you don't use a thing for so long, does it lose its function? Because its purpose had not changed, although I was not using it in the function that it was created for. It was still a mirror, but the mirror had a different purpose for me. The mirror in my life had just become furniture. Then the marriage ended. Moved out of the house. No longer had that 4-bedroom house. No longer had that big bathroom with the double vanities and all of that, those kinds of things. No longer had those things, but now I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. And in this 1-bedroom apartment, the house is totally different. The bathroom that I had in my 1-bedroom apartment was probably a quarter the size, or a quarter the size of the bathroom I had in my house. But this time, after sitting on this couch for so long, and I'm telling you, because I'm the man that I was explaining to you that some of you have been dealing with for so long, I've been that man. So I'm telling you, one day I'm walking into that bathroom. And while I'm walking into the bathroom, out of my peripheral vision, because I wasn't looking for the mirror, I hadn't looked at it for years, right? I'm walking to the restroom, and out of my peripheral vision, when I look to the left, you know what I see? I see 3 versions of myself. And the first words that came out of my mouth when I looked in the mirror and saw my reflection, you know what I said? I said, "Hey, self." I literally said, "Hey, self." And it was a knee-jerk reaction. It was not planned. I don't know. But for the first time in years, I saw myself. And when I saw myself, hey, Barbara, Sister Miller, how you doing? When I saw myself in that mirror, when I saw that reflection, you know what? I saw myself in 3 dimensions. I saw 3 versions of myself. I saw who I used to be. I saw who I was supposed to be. And I saw who I had become, all in that moment when I walked past the mirror. After, for so long, mirrors had been a part of my house, but the problem was the mirrors that were in my house had lost their function and had only become furniture. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. For a lot of men in a lot of women's lives, we've lost ourselves because we didn't look in the mirror. We hadn't noticed ourselves. We didn't see what you see. Because for so long we weren't looking for ourselves. We just wanted to be seen. And the way we thought that we could be seen was by going to work, trying to provide a lifestyle, trying to live this life out for Mr. Charlie and everybody at the job and all of those things. And so what ends up happening, unbeknownst to us and before it's too late, is that a lot of us end up losing ourselves. And when we lose ourselves, then it takes years and years and years for us, because we really, although we're not looking at ourselves, we still want to be seen. And you know how we're seen? When we're acknowledged. I'm just talking about me. I don't know how everybody is. But in that moment, when I looked in the mirror, out of my peripheral vision, because even then I wasn't looking ahead. I wasn't looking at the mirror trying to brush my teeth or fix my mustache or any of those things. Because even back then, I'm being honest with you, man, my facial hair didn't grow like that. So I didn't have to stay in the mirror trying to, I just went to the barber every week. And by the time I got to the barbershop in a week, then it was scruffy enough that it needed to be fixed. So I just didn't have. Now I might have to get in a little bit more, because if it grows, I know how to use it a little bit better. And if I had my barber on tonight, my barber will even tell you. For years, even now, when I go to the barbershop, when he gets through cutting my hair, let's see, for the first several years, when he would try to fade me up, he would hand me the mirror. And when he would hand me the mirror, I'd be like, "No, bro, you know I can't see that far." And then more than that, I'm a reflection of your work. So I can tell how good my haircut is by how many compliments I get. If I don't get any compliments, then it probably wasn't a good haircut, right? So for years, so that lets me know that the mirrors in my house weren't just furniture in my house. I just honestly, at the end of the day, I never had a need. I never felt the need for the mirrors in my life. And maybe that's what's going on with you, sis. Even the brothers that you've dealt with in your life, the ones you might be dealing with right now, your brother, your uncle, your sister, your uncle, your brother, your nephew, your son, your ex-husband. Many times the mirror functions totally different for us than it does for you. But the mirror I had ignored for years, it was big. It was built for 2. But I finally saw myself in a mirror that was half the size, that was only built for 1. which truth of the matter is lets us know that it was really never about the mirror. It was always about me. When I had every reason to look, when I had a wife, a marriage, a life worth checking on, I walked past it. When everything had been stripped down, when I was broke, alone in a one-bedroom apartment with nothing left to be efficient about, the smaller mirror caught my attention because there was nowhere else to look. So, to the women, and most of the people listening to my show are women, there's a man in your life right now who perhaps stopped looking at himself a long time ago. Whether he was your husband, currently your ex, your father, your brother, your son, he doesn't know it because he thinks he's just functioning. And if you have not shared this, would you all please share it, please? He might have stopped looking in the mirror 10 years ago, maybe 15, maybe 20. And while the marriage was still working, while you were sitting in the house with him, the disappearance happened in slow motion. And nobody saw it, including him. Or so what was happening was the work of tonight's show is to give you language for what was happening with him or what was happening in the marriage you're trying to understand, not so you can fix him, but here it is, so you can see him. And to the men listening, here's the question. When was the last time you actually looked at yourself on purpose? Drop that in the chat or call in at 404-860-2775. Sis, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and were satisfied and happy with what you saw in the mirror? That's the question tonight. Let's go ahead. We're going to move forward. Let's go ahead and share this thread, share this, let people know that we're on tonight, and we're going to get some straightening. We're going to get some understanding, and we're going to leave here encouraged because of what we have experienced tonight. That's what we've experienced tonight. And this is the first question for the sisters that are listening. And someone type this question. And no, I'll type it and put it in the chat. Hold on. I'll type it. I will type it and put it in the chat because and I'm gonna need you all to be interactive with me tonight. I got some slow comers tonight that haven't shown up yet. But let's get this first question out. When did you? I'm doing typos. When did you first realize when did you first realize the man in your life had stopped checking on himself? When did you first realize that the man in your life had stopped checking on himself? And this might not be a recent breakup. This might be a breakup from years ago. And you never dealt with it. You know, we got a lot of people in our society now who have had breakups and have never healed. I saw a issue on an instance on social media yesterday, and there was this young lady, and she was complaining, or she was upset because she had given herself to a gentleman, to a man, had introduced the man to her son. Then all of a sudden he ghosted her, or they broke up, and the relationship didn't go the way that she wanted it to go. And so she got on social media and she blasted him. And she's like, you know, I thought that messing with an older man, I would get different results. You know, you just like these young boys. I can't believe I introduced you to my son. I mean, she and I went and looked at her page, you know, because the video had really gone. I mean, not the video, the picture and the text had gone viral. 259 shares. I mean, thousands and thousands of likes, and she didn't have like 3,000 followers. But people liked mess. You know, people like to hear about somebody's breakup or somebody's divorce or whatever. And the thing about it, to me, when I saw her, I saw someone who was crying out. I saw someone who was hurting. I saw someone who had an open wound, and I'm using a metaphor, and was bleeding publicly in front of the whole world. And that's one thing that I encourage people to do who go through breakups, is to heal privately before you start talking publicly. Because if you don't heal privately, while the wound is still painful, while the wound is still sensitive, while the wound is still inflamed, then if you don't put antiseptic on it to take out the infection, if you don't, if it's really open and might need stitches to close it up, or if it's just a scrape or a scar, it might need a Band-Aid or some type of Band-Aid covering. Well, but you do whatever you do to limit the exposure of the wound to the elements, because nothing in the elements in the initial is good for the wound, because it's the dust and the particles and the germs and all those things in the elements that can potentially get into the wound and affect the wound. And if they affect the wound, then it could do more damage than good. So that's why it's good while you're in pain, while the sore is open. It's best to go and somewhere and heal before you start speaking publicly, because what'll end up happening is you'll end up bleeding on people who didn't do anything to you. And then what'll happen is that same blood that's bleeding on people, what'll end up happening is you'll get other people infected. You'll have other people going through the same thing that you're going through unintentionally, because you've infected them with what you're going through. So many people have poisoned. So many people have ruined relationships for other people, talking about the negative aspects of their own relationships. Hear me when I tell you. That's why it's best that if you're going through something, if you're groaning through it, it's best to go and sit down and heal. Go and get therapy. Go and talk to somebody privately who might have gone through the same thing you're going through. Try to go to the scripture. Must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? Go talk to him. Go talk to somebody by all means. But while you're sore, while you're bleeding, the last thing you want to do is bleed publicly on people who've done absolutely nothing to you. So here's the question I want to ask the women tonight, talking to my sisters, and we've been talking about the mirror and how for certain men, the mirror represents in the house is furniture. And so it doesn't function for him like it does for you. And so what we're doing is we're trying to give you language to understand, potentially not justify. Hear me when I say that, not justify. But what we want to do is we want to create an atmosphere of communication, because if we can create an atmosphere of healthy communication with proper interpretation, what I think we can end up doing is limiting our frustration. Have you ever thought about this? That two people can look at the same situation, see the same situation, but come away with a different interpretation. It happens all the time. And when you look at the situation one way, and he looks at the situation another way, and there's no communication where the two individuals are in fact saying what they see, then what ends up happening is everything is left open to the rule of interpretation. And if everything is left into the rule of interpretation and we've not communicated, then what ends up happening, because we've not talked, is somebody ends up along the way being frustrated. That's all. That's it in a nutshell. And I really wish that I would have, while walking past that mirror, had caught a glimpse of myself, not the one in the 1-bedroom apartment, not that one. I'm talking about the one in the 4-bedroom house, the one with the double vanity, the bigger mirror. If I had caught a glimpse of myself in the periphery, then perhaps some of the stuff I went through, I might not be going through. Real talk. Because if I had seen it, because guess what? If you don't look in the mirror, it doesn't matter how many people tell you what they see. If you don't see it, then you probably won't agree with it. And because I had blinders on, obviously I had blinders on. Obviously I had blinders on. Because I had blinders on, then I must have missed what other people saw and refused to look at it. That's part of the arrogance that Mike was talking about last week. I mean, Mike said, and I'll never forget this because it was so impactful. He said that I could provide with the best of them, but I hadn't figured out how to protect my wife from me and my stubbornness. That was one of the most powerful, impactful lines that I had ever heard on this show. Real talk. That was one of the, I've been doing this podcast, I think, when did I start? Either 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I need to go back and look. 5 years ago, this month. You know what? Actually, this might be my 5th year anniversary tonight. Maybe. It might be my 5th year anniversary tonight. But either way, I'm just trying to give you language to understand what man can say. I got a couple of questions. That's one question I want to ask tonight. When did you? Because obviously that there's not been a man. And I want to ask this: do you think you might have missed a sign, wondering if you might have stopped checking on him? Because it's easy to do, especially when you start raising children. You know, we started out with one child. You know, and he was the only child for almost 4 years. And then all of a sudden we had 2 more in a 16-month period. So we go from one child to 3 children, or one child to 3 children. And I probably lost myself the more the children came. And that's not a bad thing, because I knew I had to provide. I knew I had to do what I had to do. And then I'm dealing with guilt from other bad decisions, and dealing with the failures and the past mistakes and all of these types of things. And those things, after a certain point, and I don't know if this happened for the man in your life, but after a certain point, I didn't want to look at the man in the mirror. After a certain point, because of the man that I had become, reality suggests, what's up, bro? Oh, it's all good. But what we're talking about, Dennis, is for a lot of men, and you're young. Well, you're not young, but we're talking about, and you're still in yours. But for a lot of men in and out of marriage, those who've gone through divorce and things of that nature, for a lot of men, and tonight's show is called Hey Self, because it's based on not the mirror that I had in the 4-bedroom house with the double vanity and was in between had the walk-in closet, the one I walked by every day, the one I should have seen myself. But it was after I lost the family and I was in the 1-bedroom house, I caught a glimpse of myself in my peripheral vision. But I talked about how sometimes the hustle and bustle of life and circumstances of life causes the mirror to function differently for different people. For me, in my house, and you can see it on the t-shirt, at a certain point, the mirror really just became furniture, because I didn't need it. I didn't need the mirror to brush my hair. I knew my wave pattern. Well, I ain't really have many waves, but I knew the train of my hair. I knew how to brush my teeth and look for what suit I was going to wear. And like I told him earlier, Dennis, a lot of times, because I did dress up to go to work and I didn't want to get to work wrinkled, I would hang my shirt and my jacket up in the back of the car and wear a t-shirt to work. And then when I got close to work, I would put my shirt on. No, I shouldn't have been doing that in the car. But then I would tie my tie. I didn't need the mirror for those things. So the mirror functioned different in my life. Some sisters, now the mirrors might have the men in their lives, they might have done the same thing, because the mirror serves a different function for men, or some men, than it does for women. And what'll happen is, because we're looking, or because the mirror serves a certain function for you, you'll assume that what you see, we see. Or you'll assume that what you see, he sees. And you will put it in the category of avoidance, when in all actuality, it's not avoidance, it's irrelevance to him. And it's not irrelevance on purpose. I just didn't, that wasn't how I saw it. And I didn't see it like that because I wasn't looking. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I was caught up. I had to get to work. And so, and I really didn't want to go in the first place, but I had to go. So I had to get the suit out the closet. I had to get, I had to get out of the house. I had to get the routine right. I had to get in the car, had to do all these things, right? And I didn't care if, I had a blemish on my face. I didn't care if I had a pimple I didn't care about all those things. So I just went on to work. So the mirror functioned differently for me. But when I finally saw myself in the mirror, and it wasn't, and like I said earlier, I wasn't even looking head on. I was looking out of my peripheral. Dennis, I know you come down on the fast break, you're looking dead at the goal, but you can see the two trailers on both sides out of your peripheral vision, and you might fake it to the left and then drop it off to the right, or throw a oop, whatever, but you can see you can scan the whole floor while your eyes are forward. I was looking forward, getting ready to go to the restroom, but out of my peripheral vision, I saw myself, and before I knew it, all I said was, "Hey, self." And then when I said, "Hey, self," I spent a long time looking in that mirror. And in that mirror, in that moment, I saw 3 dimensions of myself. I saw who I was supposed to be, and who I used to be, all in that moment. Who I was supposed to be, and who I had become, all in that moment. And I sat there, and guess what, Dennis? For a long time, for the first time in about 15 years, I sat there and I looked in that mirror, and I really did an analysis. I did an evaluation, and the words came to my mouth. I said, "Dang. Wow. I did that. I had become that. Man, I see why she left me. I would have left me too, because I had lost myself. And let me say it like this: if you don't check in, if you don't check on yourself, when you finally do come back and check on yourself, you won't even recognize yourself. Maybe that's why the rappers used to say, "Check yourself before you wreck yourself." Because if you don't check yourself, you're just you're opening yourself up for exposure, because people will always see what you see. And if they love you enough, they'll tell you, but a lot of people don't care. They can see you going down the wrong road. They can see you making a mistake. They can see a negative outcome. We have a habit in the country, when you are even on the road, sometimes, if you're driving on one direction and the car is coming forward, if you just saw a police officer, you might flash your lights, and you flashing the lights lets the oncoming traffic know that there's a policeman that's further up the road, and you should be careful. If Dennis and I are friends, and Dennis sees something that he thinks will enhance or better my life, I would hope, now it's not his responsibility, but I would hope that Dennis would say, "Big bruh, I think you might want to rethink that." And in a relationship, if you see somebody that hadn't checked on themselves, or continually going the wrong way, and then that's when communication should start. And that's not placing the blame, because he should have looked. There's no doubt about it. We're responsible for our own selves. But in a relationship, if the two become one, if something becomes imbalanced at a certain point, seems like there should be a check, with a moment where you have those 3 a.m. conversations, or where a moment where we're able to have or to communicate. And then, like I said, communication with proper interpretation eliminates frustration. But it doesn't happen until there's been proper communication. And proper communication is I got a text last week. Dennis. Check this out. And when they text me, I love this person too. I do. I really do. But this person texts me. And when they text me, every few words were capitalized, all caps. Oh, okay. I'm sensitive, so if I see you, so I text back. In the old days, I probably wouldn't have responded, or I might have responded with a not so favorable text. But I responded. I said, "Now listen, we've been getting along well, and I appreciate you for bringing this to my attention. But when you keep doing all caps like that, I kind of feel like you're yelling at me. And me personally, that's just James. My birthday's July the 6th. I'm a Cancer. I know some of y'all don't believe in zodiac. That's fine. I'm a Cancer. All right, and Cancers are crabs, and crabs have shells, and if you want me to retreat into my shell, raise your voice at me. Because I don't play that yelling stuff. So if your form of communication is raising your voice, that's not going to work with me. That's not. And I don't know, that might work in your household. I don't have a problem with that. What works in your household. But if you find that when you do raise your voice, that it causes more harm than good, then even that goes both ways. Then I think you need to learn how to communicate differently, because the purpose and the intent of communication is to get the point across, or to get the message across. If you have a message, there's a medium, and then there's a method which I decode, and I'm decoding what you're encoding, the message that you're sending. Then when you send it, my responsibility, no matter whatever medium you send it, if you say it, if you text it, if you write a message, you can reach me by railways, you can reach me by trailways, reach me in a hot air balloon. However, if you get it, just as long as the message gets here soon, I can't decode the message if you don't properly encode the message. And if you're encoding the message by raising your voice, I can't hear you. So as the communicator, I learned that the person I'm talking to shuts down. I had a person I was really, really interested in. I really was. I was really interested in her. And one day she talked to me, and I was frustrated that day because I had just gotten off the road. I had driven. I was tired. I was sleepy. I didn't yell, but I got short. And I said, "Now, I told you." And that person shut down immediately. Shut down. Right. And so if we had continued to deal with each other, and I know that that's a trigger for her, me raising her voice. And if I know that proper communication, if I want interpretation from proper communication that would not lead to frustration, then I would have to find a different way to communicate with her. And I think, especially in a marriage, somebody that you've gone down the aisle with, you've made vows in front of God to stay together until death do you part, in sickness and health, for richer or for poor, and all those things. If you've made those, then the one thing you should learn is how the other person likes to be communicated with, so that you rule out the potential of having bad interpretations, right? Or misinterpretations. Y'all talk to me tonight. Is any of this making sense? Is any of this making sense? Because if you thought for years that he was avoiding it, and he wasn't avoiding it, because it wasn't avoidance, it was a relevance to him, and you sitting there telling yourself every day, he don't do this, he don't do that, and he saw, and I know he saw that, and if he didn't see that, then he should have saw that. Because, and understand, the mirror is not necessarily just a physical mirror. The mirror is also a metaphor for other things that happen in our lives as well. Does that make sense? And so because you're looking at it and you're saying, well, you know, he should have done this. Well, he should have done that. Well, I know he saw that. And if he didn't see that, then he should have saw that. And then and all this is going on. And there's a whole bunch of assumptions going on. But all of this time, you're misinterpreting what's going on. And when you misinterpret it, here we go. Improper communication leads to misinterpretation, which leads to what in the house? Frustration. All because the mirror function in a different purpose for me than it does for you. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I really wish I had more women in tonight, because I want to know. I have some questions that I want to answer, but y'all ain't talking to me tonight. But I really, 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 really want to know. The phone number's there, 404-860-2775. Oh, I forgot to put the if you have any questions, put those questions in the chat. Let me put the stream in the chat in case somebody wants to come on tonight, because I forgot to do that. If y'all have any questions. But for me, man, and shout out to my daughter for making this t-shirt for me tonight. She said, she made this for me. When the mirror becomes furniture. What you mean? There we go. Invite guest. Give me a hot second. Dennis, am I doing, we all right tonight? How's the family? How the girl? Is basketball season over with? To join the show, click the link. Here it comes. This is for Facebook, and then I'll put one out there for YouTube here in a second as well. But to join the show, you can click that link right there. You pin that comment, and let me put it out there for YouTube as well. Intellectual Stew. I love my song. I don't think I let it finish earlier. All right. This is for YouTube. All right. There we go. That's to join the show live. All right. I'm going to ask the men a question. Dennis, if you're still there, I want to ask a question. Are you still there, Dennis? Let me know. But this is for the men. This is for men. If Dennis is still there. For men. When was the last time I thought I messed up. Hold on. Let me put that right there. When was the last time you actually at yourself? This question is for men. When was the last time you actually looked at yourself on purpose? Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit better about looking in the mirror now. Number one, my hair grows back a little faster now that I'm older. And it's gray. So when it's gray, I don't want all that little scruffy stuff around. And I've kind of partially learned how to shave. You know, like I said, for a long time, I didn't grow hair like that. So because I didn't grow hair like that, I really didn't care to look in the mirror. But now I'm starting to grow hair in places that I didn't used to grow it as thick. So I have to, I literally have to make sure that I look in the mirror a little more regularly now than I used to look in the mirror. And I've slowed down now. My kids are grown. My responsibilities are not the same like they used to be. So since that's the case, I'm not moving as fast as I used to move, right? Because back then the mirror was furniture because I moved right on past it. The mirror didn't mean as much to me, like I said. But now that I'm older, I will look in the mirror. And that's the question. I got a question for the men. And the question for the men, let me put it back up again, is for men, when was the last time you looked at yourself on purpose? And I'm talking about in the mirror. When was the last time you looked at yourself on purpose? And this question is for the sisters. You put it back up there. That's for the men. When was the last time you actually looked at yourself? And we're talking about in the mirror tonight, because for a lot of men, as I've stated earlier, the mirror wasn't really anything but furniture. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. Now, that's the question I'm asking men, but I'm asking this question for women. When did you first realize that the man in your life, and you might not have ever realized it, say that as well. When did you realize that the man in your life had stopped checking on himself, on himself? I said yourself. I meant to say himself. Let me see if I can edit that. Edit. Fix that. I got a couple of answers. Let me see what those answers are. Dennis said every day I do it. So you literally look in the mirror every day. That's good, bro. That's good. And I think that can be equated to being happy with what you. So you're happy with what you see with who you see in the mirror. Was there ever a time that you weren't happy with the man in the mirror? And if you weren't happy with the man in the mirror, did you continue looking until you fixed it, or did you avoid it? Was it? Does that make sense, Dennis? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You say, because Dennis says he does look in the mirror. Like I said, a lot of men don't. I know I wasn't, and that's why it was so shocking when I finally looked in, when I finally saw myself after having not seen myself for so long, and all I could say was, "Hey, self." I literally, those words came out of my mouth. I said, "Hey, self." Mind blowing. Mind blowing. Mind blowing. Let me ask one more question. Let me put this other question out there. Uh-oh, Dennis is coming to see me. All right, cool. I got a guess. What it do, Dennis?
Oh, hey, this work a lot better. I be doing that call in, and then I can't hear. Never mind. I'm slow. Anyway,
I'm glad you popped in. Talk to us. What's going on?
I love what you're doing with the conversation tonight. I ended up jumping on late because these schools calling for my twins and my oldest daughter. It's a great problem to have right now. But
oh yeah,
I'm very, very big on like a self-evaluation daily. And because I work in a field where I see a lot of people, they express to me their emotions, I make sure that I'm okay with me every single day. So like that drive in, I don't have no music. It take me an hour to get in. It take me like 45 minutes to an hour to get to work. Okay. I don't turn no radio on, nothing. I just want to make sure that I'm okay. What I need to do, whatever my agenda is for myself, I got to get that going first because, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So I got to be okay because I got 9 kids. Everybody depends on me. 9 kids and a wife. Everybody need me. So I have to be okay. And I like the question that you posed to the women, but I don't think that they would notice that you start checking on yourself until you're in danger. When you are in that first stage of, I'm not okay, but you're probably not admitting it to yourself, she doesn't notice either. Because it's internal. once you have an issue with yourself, you have to identify it and own up to it immediately. And you have to either be one really strong within yourself to fix it alone. Like, I thank God for that ability. I've always had it since a little kid. It's getting ready to get loud in my house. I heard 3 of my kids walking in.
That's a good thing. That's a blessing that they walking in. That's a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
What's up, guys? Look. What's up, guys?
Man, let them be a part of the show. Appreciate you.
You was kicking some butt at karate today? Good job. Hold on for 2 seconds. You
because I slapped him with the sword.
Oh man, come on.
No,
Hold on, wait. My little kung fu ninja just came in.
Man, hey, look, I love it. I love it. Let him do his thing. Go ahead.
But it's so important to do that daily self-assessment, because you can lie to the rest of the world and you will look like everything is fine. But if you lying to yourself, that's when the real danger can happen for you. That's when you can get to the point where you're suicidal and you're out of touch with reality and you got all these things going on that you can't explain. You have to, even if you lie to the rest of the world, you can never lie to yourself. I never lie to me, ever.
But you know, man, I'm gonna push back just a little bit, because I mean, and I agree. And what you're saying is not wrong. This is more of an amendment than it is a pushback. Okay, because I know you said, and I agree. She wouldn't know because it's internal, right? You have to fix yourself. I get that. But when you had a cat like I was, and I'm just talking about me, I didn't look for 10, 15 years. I didn't need to. Because the parts of my life I thought were well, at that point. Back then, I was making 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? I dressed in very nice suits. I put her in a Mercedes in 2000, a brand new Mercedes in 2001. I had all the symptoms of success, right? The children were looking good. We had, now we might have been might have been some stuff going on behind the scenes, but I was so caught up trying to get to the next, trying to make sure we had this, trying to make sure we had that. And I didn't need the mirror for those things to happen. I didn't need, because she never walked out of the house without her hair looking all over her head. So even if she wore a hat, she would curl the little curls in the back. You know what I'm saying? Because the mirror served a different purpose for her. You feel what I'm saying? I honestly, Dennis, I didn't need a mirror to do a self-evaluation. I could do a self-evaluation riding down the street because I'm just thinking. You understand what I'm saying? Because, what's up, man? That's the karate man. No, that's a girl. That's a girl. That's a girl.
This a boy. No,
that's a boy. Okay.
This Linux.
That's Kung Fu man.
Look, hey, he watching basketball, talking about good D. Look, hey, we got to build them young around here.
Oh yeah. Hey, look, they got a good they got a great trainer. They got a great trainer. They got a great. Y'all don't know, Dennis wouldn't play basketball at Kent State, so he did play D1. So he does have a little history in this thing. He did. But think about what I just said, because I'm not talking about just, and I'm not, in this instance, I'm not even using the mirror as a metaphor. I'm using this as a literal mirror. I don't have to look at that to see a self-evaluation. I did. Well, I take that back. I didn't think I needed one to do a self-evaluation, because everything on the equal side to me was positive at a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Until I got caught up in that routine. And then when I got caught up in that routine, it's like I was in a funnel or a spiral, and I woke, and then days became weeks, and weeks became months, and months became years.
Hey, big bro.
What's up?
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
When you're talking to somebody and you're looking them in the face and you're trying to tell whether or not they're lying to you or not, what are you looking at? Their eyes. You got to look in your own eyes too.
I can see that.
You got to look in your own eyes every single day, because especially when nothing has changed. Like you said, you were living good, kids smiling, wife looked good, her hair done, nails done, everything. You know what I mean? She looked great. If nothing changed, you won't know that something changed unless you look at yourself to see, like, hey, am I still good?
Yeah.
And you're gonna know it way before everybody else.
That's good, man. But and I hate it for me, and I know it's happened to so many other brothers, man. I hate it because When I had that real big mirror, I missed it. But then in this little 1-bedroom apartment with this small mirror is when that did you hear when I told a story about you in peripheral vision when you would come down the court on a fast break?
Absolutely. That's why I said that's a hard bar.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. But you didn't give up a head fake, because you had your eyes on one place, right? Magic Johnson was the greatest at that. Magic Johnson be coming looking straight at the defender and fake it one way and then throw it the other way. It looked awkward back then. It looked sweet now, But anyway, but he was the greatest at that. But in that peripheral for me in that moment, what I saw, I was like, first, I'm not joking. Hard bar. I mean, you call it what you want to call it. But I literally, when in that moment, when I saw myself in my peripheral vision, I said, hey, self. And it was almost like, where have you been? Because the thing about it, Dennis, is that God has given me like a major vision. I've seen some promises, and I've seen the product, in mathematics, it's the product, right? But in order to get to the product, you have to go through the process. And most time I would see the product without seeing the process. I was hoping she would help me get there. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm finally starting to see how to do this process stuff down. But
a lot of times that's going to be an issue for us because even when we think we're doing it effectively, most men don't communicate effectively.
I agree.
We just think people are supposed to understand our agenda and we ain't gave them no instructions. So unless
I bet y'all ladies agreeing with Dennis like I don't know what in the chat, but he telling the truth though. Go ahead, bro.
I caught myself doing it. Like I had an event that was super important to me for Moral Millionaires. I mentioned it like in passing. I don't say nothing about nothing. So in regular Pittman family fashion, we are running late and I am hot. I'm talking about I'm boiling. Because finally something is important to me. So we get to the place that we were going to, and then I tell them why it was important, and they're like, oh, okay. And we have a good time or whatever, but I should have talked about what this meant to me going into it. Yeah. I didn't say a thing. I'm just telling them, hey, 4:00, we got to be ready. We got somewhere to be. And I know to myself that I expect people to read my mind, and that's wrong. That's wrong. All the way wrong. And once you identify it, you try to get better at it. But I am very guilty of this.
And that's part of what I just said. We see the end, and we expect everybody else to see what's in the middle. And that's also what I said when we talk about effective communication. The purpose of effective communication is to lead to proper interpretation. Because if there's proper interpretation, then there will be no frustration. My biggest problem in my marriage, and I know it was, is that I didn't manage the growth. People ask me now, what's one of the best ways you would manage the growth? The best way I would manage the growth is by telling you how to properly cast vision. Because if you can properly cast vision, then everybody knows where they're trying to go. And if everybody knows where we're trying to go, then we can all get on the same page. And if we're all on the same page, then now I might have the vision, but she might have the voice. That's good, James. Because they listen to her more than they listen to me, because sometimes my voice might be a little more stentorious, right? It might be heavier. It might sound like I'm forcing it. But because it's softer, if I've really properly communicated it with her and she understands it, and she can articulate it as well as I can because I've cast it to her. Same thing you just said. You had somewhere you need to be at 4:00. If you'd have told her, listen, we got to be there at 4:00 because this is the Moral Millionaires. I'm in charge of this. I need to be there at least 15 minutes early. People are going to have these expectations. Guess what? Now she can go to the kids and say, listen, we got to be out of here by 3:15 because your daddy got to be here at this time. Now we're a partnership and we have proper communication, which will take away the frustration. Right. Why? Because I've given an interpretation. She properly understands what's going on. Am I saying that right?
Absolutely. Hey, you said manage the growth, and I stuck to explain that a little bit. Like, are you saying like as your family continue to grow in what? Are we talking about success? What are we talking about growth?
Growth happens in all forms. You grow together.
Which growth do you feel like you didn't?
All of them. That's the point. Yeah, because if you don't put it like this, if you don't manage the growth, then you might end up growing apart. So we need to make sure, and more than
Right.
anything, make sure you're growing in the right direction. You understand what I'm saying? Think about it. If you plant roses in your yard, you got to put the roses in a box. Why? Because roses grow wild. So if you put them in the box, then you manage the growth. They can't grow outside of that area until they get to a certain point, right? So same thing in a marriage. You start out, you manage the growth. You make sure you're going on dates. You make sure you get your family time. You make sure, you're putting in the proper things to make sure the family grows together as opposed to growing apart. And guess what? Unfortunately, that growth is not necessarily something that's universal, that's one size fits all, because your family might grow. You got 9 kids, like you said. Your situation is totally different. You got to manage your whole household totally different than somebody else has to manage their household, right? But you have to manage that. Yeah, you got to manage that growth the best. Most parents can't afford to send their kids to private school and make sure they play for a high-level basketball program and then get them to tournaments in other states and do all these things and then fly to go see a nephew play at Michigan State and then do all those things and make sure the family's still taken care of. That's properly managing the growth. But a lot of folks that can't manage the growth, they go ahead and do what they're going to do. Don't tell their wives where they're going to be. Don't make their own decisions. Don't care what she says. Don't involve her in the decision. Leave her left. Leave her holding the bag, yada, yada, yada. That's not managing the growth. And then next thing you know, she's over there. I did it. I'm at work. They on baseball tournaments in Florida on the weekend. She's having to drive 6 hours by herself to get him to a baseball tournament. They're all in a room. I'm at work all by myself all weekend long. Does that make sense?
I definitely.
Now I can say,
I say you are cooking. Keep going.
I mean, because I can say, because truth be told, while they were out of town, I didn't make no money because I'm too busy looking at the computer to see if he got a hit. To see if they won the game. Because if I got a customer, then I'd be with them for 3 hours. I ain't making no money because my body was here, but my mind was where my family was, and I should have been there. Guess what? That was me not managing the growth. And she might have thought he didn't care. Or he didn't, he left me to do. You don't know what she thought. You feel what I'm saying? But I take the responsibility because had I put us in different positions and managed the growth, had not made some of the decisions I made, kept looking in the mirror, doing what my brother Dennis just said, doing a self-evaluation, because if I did a self-evaluation, I might not have liked what I saw, and I might have made an adjustment sooner. Because she wasn't going to say nothing.
Can I ask you a question about your previous marriage?
Sure.
Okay. You can definitely say no comment. So
absolutely.
As you guys were building, I know that you were the breadwinner. You know what I mean? Did you build did you build together? Like, did you plan together? Did you ever sit down and be like, hey, look, this is the goal for us? Or did you kind of make plans and then just start carrying them out without having a conversation?
Making plans without carrying out the conversation.
Me too. I do the same thing. To this day, though. Like, I still do the same thing. And I know I have to get better at yada, yada, yada.
But she was better with money than I was. You know what I'm saying? Mine was, huh?
I said my household somewhere in the middle. We're both pretty decent.
She was. I'm not saying I was bad, but she was more consistent. You know what I mean? So she was better with money than I was. Her credit, if I messed my credit up, Dennis, I would make sure hers was straight. You know what I'm saying? I just always made sure that I kept her clean. I don't care what it was. I mean, I didn't want, if it was credit, whatever. I made sure I would be the fall, or I would make the mistake, or I would do. I always wanted her present her in a certain light, and I just did that. But not knowing, without telling too much, and they can read the book to find out more. But some of the things I had done, I'll give one. I had gotten in trouble back in 2001. In 2001, I had a drink, and that wasn't but like 1 or 2 drinks. But some blue lights got behind me, right? And you know what happens when blue lights get behind you. Even if if the liquor is fresh on your breath, then they go take you. And so I got in trouble that night, and I, man, after that, because I was doing well in the car business at that time. But after that, for a long time, I wouldn't apply for other management jobs because I was afraid of being embarrassed. And I think I had allowed shame to take over so much, Dennis, that even when it came to looking in that mirror, I didn't want to see him because I didn't like what I had become. Now, how many people in the car business, and the reason I can talk about this is because it's 25 years old. So anybody want to bring that up against me, y'all can bring it up again. You can't kill me if I commit suicide. So I've already told on myself. So if you stick a knife in a dead body, that's on you. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But I did that 25 years ago. But for years after that, I wouldn't apply for certain jobs because I knew they were going to pull my record. And if they pull my record, the last thing I hate, Dennis, I hate, and I hate it. I'm better with it now, but I hated rejection. I hated rejection, right? I don't know if something in my childhood, somebody told me no, I don't know what it was, but I hated, maybe I do, but I hated rejection. So a lot of jobs I didn't apply for. And so because of the shame, because of the guilt, because of not forgiving myself like I should have, I didn't look in the mirror. And if I didn't look in the mirror, if I didn't see it, maybe they wouldn't see it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you cooking. That's why I was quiet. You cooking.
Yeah. Is that anybody else's story tonight? I mean, because y'all are real quiet in the comments. I know it's probably not a talking back type.
I feel like everybody has been there before. I don't even want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to see it because it's so bad to me in the moment. Even though this too shall pass, in the moment, I don't want to face it.
I don't want to face it.
And how long is that moment? That's what we can control. That moment should be a blip, but we'll turn it into a period.
Oh, yeah.
Out of shame, like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You got to keep going.
Yeah, and that's, you know, yeah, you remember back, you remember earlier this year I was teaching on the grace gap. You remember that? And
I do.
And so many of us get caught up in what we call the grace gap. And those that weren't a part of that show, the grace gap, the acronym for grace gap is guilt, resentment, anxiety, condemnation, and ego. Guilt, resentment, anxiety, condemnation, and ego. If you find yourself dealing with any of those, then those are things or attitudes that can literally keep you stuck in a position where you're unable to receive grace. And if you're in a position where you can't receive grace, then it's hard for you to forgive yourself. If God freely forgives you and freely gives you grace, then why are we charging ourselves so much for it? And why don't we give it to others, right? And the truth of the matter is we won't give it to others, especially if we don't give it to ourselves. Talk for a minute, Dennis. Tell me, talk for a minute.
That's definitely a fact. I think, and that's why I remember saying once, I wish that a mirror was two-sided, so you could look at, because it's so easy to see what somebody else is doing. Like you can look at, I wish eyes were two-sided, so that you can look at yourself the same way you look at everybody else. You see everybody else's problems clean and clear. Your whole inside is ugly, but you'll sit around and point out the ugly in everybody else, not even knowing you worse off than they are.
Yeah.
You all right, pal? Swallowed that wrong pipe. You cool? Yeah, it's a self-awareness is very difficult for a lot of people to get to. But once you do reach that level where it's a healthy, you all right? When you get to a healthy level of self-awareness, that's when you really start to hit your stride in life. Until you get there, you're on a hamster wheel. You're gonna do the same things over and over and over.
Yeah.
You can lie to
And
everybody in the world, but you can't lie to yourself.
And man, this is the thing though, because you can avoid it, you know, and I guess, you know, I said avoidance and irrelevance, you know, I kind of used that analogy earlier, but you can avoid it because after a certain while, it might become avoidance, right? And and you can avoid it for so long, but what happens when the rubber finally meets the road, right? And you finally have to deal with it, and you end, and it's sad when you wake up and everything has changed, right? When you've left and you come back and you finally come to yourself, you know, that old come to Jesus moment, when you finally come to yourself and everything has changed. Man, I'm gonna tell you the hardest part for me, and Dennis, I hope you don't ever have to go through what I went through. But I tell people, when I moved into this 1-bedroom apartment for years, I couldn't go to sleep. Man, I didn't go to bed. I fell asleep. I would literally fall asleep on the couch, you know, instead of going to bed. But if I woke up in the middle of the night, I would try to go get into bed, but I couldn't sleep. You know why I couldn't sleep?
Why not?
Because for 15, 20 years, I had gotten used to a body being beside me. And even in the last 2 or 3 years, when we weren't communicating like we should have been communicating, that was the one place we did communicate. And, you know, and I'm not talking about, not talking about sexually. I'm just talking about laying beside each other, right? You know, the language of the love language of touch, you know, just being in the same, you know, the comfort of knowing that somebody's right beside me. Cause you know, I can at least reach over and rub a leg, whatever I wanted to do. Right. But when that is taken, the small, minute things like that are taken away because I failed to look in the mirror for all those years. When that reality check comes, it's like a burst of light in my face. And I'm like, wow. That's a dangerous place to be, bro. And it got so bad for me.
You was in that mirror recently.
Huh?
It's self-reflect tonight. It's a beautiful thing.
This was a few years ago, but I'm able to talk about it.
You've been in that mirror though.
Oh, I stay in it now. Sure. Yeah, I stay in it now because I know where I was. I mean, bro, I'm gonna tell you my whole listen. I tell people I went to work Sunday. I got a moved in an apartment on Sunday, went to work Monday, got fired Monday. And Monday, I said I was never going to work for him. I came to my apartment, man, and waited to get evicted. I sat there a whole month long and didn't care about money, didn't care about anything. If it wasn't for my pastor and some people at church and stuff, man, they made sure that they were like ravens for me. They made sure I ate so much funeral food during that time. I mean, because we had an older congregation, so we always had a lot of funerals going on. So because I'm sitting at home, my pastor would be like, Kirk, come by the church. And I just go help him with funerals. And then we would always, and the women knew I was going through a divorce, so they would make me a plate there and send me a plate home and make sure I had little groceries and all different types of things, man, because I didn't care. I had lost so much of my sense of value and didn't recognize it. And not recognizing it, not knowing how I was slowly causing my marriage to deteriorate. And so the message tonight is, number one, for the brothers who might have gone through the same thing but couldn't put a name on it, or ones who are in a relationship now who might have been avoiding the mirror, to make them aware that they need to start looking in that mirror. And then also to sisters who had to put up with brothers who might have lost themselves for a season. And I want to give them some language for what happened that they didn't have any understanding on how to deal with, and might have been resentful or upset, and what's up, man? And put that label on all men, and it's not all men. Dennis just flat out said, I do a self-evaluation. How often?
Every single day.
Every single day. So if he's doing it and he's self-aware, then that lets me know that there are some other brothers who are also self-aware. And it also lets me know, guess what else? It's possible. It's possible. You know how much less you would bump into things if you didn't sneak in the house, but if you just walked in the house and turned the lights on. You know, so many brothers in marriages, especially when they sneaking in the house late at night because they've been out doing a little bit more than they should have been doing. So last thing they want to do when they come in the house is turn the light on, right? So if they're not familiar with where the furniture be, or if little man right there might have left his toy on the floor instead of putting it up, and you walk in the house with the lights off, you subject to trip over something, it's gonna wake up the whole house anyway. But if you come in clean, or if you were already there and you turned off the lights and then got in the bed, your house is in order in that particular point. I don't know. That might not make sense to some people.
No, you cooking?
That might not make sense to nobody else. Dennis, hold on. We really about to be through in a minute. But
I'm about to listen, but I appreciate you having me.
All right, check out, bro. I appreciate you, man. I got to call my girl LaRue in right quick. Let's see what she got to say to us before we leave. All right, bro.
Hey, baby. I'm LaRue. I sit in on this show every week because James asked me to, and because some of y'all need a different voice in the room for a minute. Listen, I want to tell you one thing tonight, and I want you to hold on to it after the show is over. You did not lose yourself because you got married. You did not lose yourself because the marriage ended. You lost yourself in the small choices nobody saw. The mirror you stopped looking in. The phone call you stopped answering. The hour to yourself you stopped taking. The good news is the same way you lost yourself is the same way you come back. Small choices. Nobody has to see them. You are not as far from yourself as you think you are. That's all I came to say tonight. Talk to you next week, baby.
Hold on. I love her. I ain't gonna lie. That's LaRue. That's my co-host. She gives us a little wisdom every week, and I am so appreciated. So thank you, LaRue. All right. Now I want to come back to something that Dennis just said a minute ago. Dennis said he literally does a self-evaluation every week. And I believe that happens. I really do believe that happens when you are satisfied with what and who you see in that mirror. When you get to that point, place, and posture where you're satisfied with what you see, not necessarily satisfied with the results, because it's not always results. I wish I had listened when she told me it's not about the money. I want you to be home. Now, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. But had I listened, not just heard her, not listen at you, but listen to you. That's what we say in the country, listen at you. But if I really would have listened to, then it might have been a whole different situation. Listen, now tonight, you've heard stories, yours, mine, those in the chat. You heard about a man who walked past a big bathroom mirror for 20 years inside a marriage and didn't look. You heard about a small mirror in a small apartment that finally caught him. You've heard women who've described about men who disappeared inside their own lives long before the marriage ended. But here's what it all comes back to. Most of the men in your life stopped checking on themselves a long time ago. Sometimes 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they don't know it. That's not weakness. That's not cruelty. That's not him not loving you. That's a man who let efficiency replace presence. So slowly the decades went by. And here's the hard part. Most men don't start looking again until their life is small enough to fit in front of them. Until the house is gone and the closet is gone and there's nothing left but a small mirror in a small bathroom. But listen, the work isn't to fix him. The work is to see him and to know that what you're seeing may have started a long time ago before you even noticed it. And what I hope, this is my hope, ladies, my hope is you walk away with tonight is language for what's happening with the man you're trying to understand, or what was happening in the marriage you were trying to figure out. Because once you have the words for it, you can stop guessing. Because now communication leads to proper interpretation, which eliminates frustration. So here's my ask, and I'm getting ready to close. Here's my ask. Tomorrow morning, look at one man in your life. your husband, your ex, your father, your son, your brother, and ask yourself one question. When did he stop looking at himself? Don't fix it. Don't bring it up. Just notice. And I want you to carry that question for 1 week and watch what shows up. And one last thing, the story I'm telling you about, if you want the longer version of it, it's in my book called Stuck on the Couch. And if tonight is hitting you and you want the full story, the book is where it lives. You can go to my page. I'll have the link up for you tonight. You can go to my page and you can purchase that book. It's $20 plus shipping and handling. And I sign every copy that goes out. Now, I'm getting ready to close. But before I close, I want to make sure you don't have any questions. And listen, if you want to support the show, please, ma'am, please, sir, I have put out new sponsorship packages for those that have businesses or those that you can sponsor on different levels. There's a $10 level. There's a $20 level. There's a $75 level for businesses and another $150 level for businesses. But as patrons, if you want the $10 and the $20 level, I'm going to make sure I add a little more benefit. I'm thinking about doing an after party. Once the show is over, 10 or 15 minutes after the show, we'll do a Zoom call, and we can have a little bit more in-depth conversations about what we're talking about. Okay. So if you want to support on the $10 level or the $20 level, let me know. I'll make sure I get you the links. If you don't know what they are on my page, but you can always inbox me and I'll make sure I'll make that happen. Let me show you this video and then we're going to get out of here, just for those that might want the full story.
In the blink of an eye, everything can change.
20 years of marriage, 3 beautiful children, a home filled with memories, gone. James Kirkland II was left with nothing but the silence of his own thoughts and a couch that became his prison. But in the depths of despair, subtle reminders of purpose began to pierce through the darkness. God had not forgotten him. In every small sign, in every whisper, in the stillness, James began to rediscover who he was and why he was still here. Stuck on the Couch is not just a story of loss, but a journey of resilience, faith, and the courage to embrace a new normal. Available now wherever books are sold. Now you can get that on Amazon and places in Ingraham Sparks and places like that, or Barnes and Noble. But I would prefer you get it from me. So I have the link. Like I said, if you're interested, inbox me and I will make sure you get that link. Or if you want the ways to support, I'll send you that link as well. $10 a month, $20 a month, and we'll be able to really expand and grow the show. But before I go, for everyone listening, hey self, that's the practice. That's what we did tonight. So I want you to look in the mirror and say, hey self, even if it feels strange, especially if it feels strange, you may find out you have not seen yourself in longer than you think. This is James Kirkland, the Mind Massager. Open mic night runs every Monday at 8 p.m. And we will be back next week. And remember this, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the
intellectual stew? Something true.
Marriage for him is like making mashed potatoes.
Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light,
Let me ask you
the old, the new intellectual stew. We're stirring up the view.